guides, for example, who help us to process.
There's so many things that are associated with this light, it's almost impossible even to give a verbal description of it that's in any way adequate. I think even the powers of a Dante, frankly, would be insufficient to be able to describe what's in this light. But yes, there is an incredible intelligence. There is an energy associated with this light. There is a feeling of love beyond this world, almost an absolute love, and that when people have the experience of the light, it isn't that they become aware of these dimensions. They become absorbed in them, and they understand that they are made of that light. You know, the light is not something that is other. It's that you merge with the light, and that energy and that intelligence and that love infuses itself into you. And that's why I think when people come back from this radiant experience, that they're almost like beings of light themselves. I mean, to the extent that they can remove, you know, kind of their ego dross, if I can put it that way. If they can remove that covering, then the light that they experience during their own near-death encounter shines through them. I think that's why they are so compassionate, so loving, and why they have this kind of knowledge, because the light is an energy and intelligence which can be absorbed in the near-death experience. Even if a person can't consciously understand what has happened to him or her, nevertheless that absorption takes place and is somehow reflected in their daily conduct and in their consciousness when they come back from the experience.
You write about one near-death experiencer, I believe, who became a friend of yours, and he was very eloquent and articulate about the nature of the light, that the light itself was composed of, if I recall correctly, it's as if it was the higher self of everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I remember this particular man, and he had a very unusual experience, because when he went into the light, he had a question, and he said, "What are you really? You know, what is this? What are you?" And he said that he was not just enabled to enter into the light, but he passed through the light. And when he could, as it were, look back on the light, he saw it was almost like a constellation of human souls. That it was everybody's higher self, as you were describing. And again, that had a tremendous effect on this particular individual. But his experience went deeper, deeper than most. And in one chapter, I know the one that you're referring to in Lessons from the Light, I present some cases like his of the deepest, the most complex near-death experiences that I've discovered in the course of my research. And in all of these, although I don't have many of them, as with this man, people go into and then through the light, and they seem to go almost as if on a journey through the universe, and they get to a second light. They get to something that seems to be the primordial light, or the light of creation, or the light of God. I don't even know what terms are adequate to describe it. This man was one of those who had something more like the full near-death experience, although obviously he never died, but he penetrated further than most people ever have an opportunity to do.
The sense that I have is that what these people are telling us is that my soul is linked to the soul of everyone else, right. That we are common, we share a soul in common, and that common soul that we all have links us to the absolute.
I think that's very well put, and I think what we have here in this world, we have a sense of division and separation. We are many bodies, but in the light, no pun intended, of the near-death experience, you realize there's only one being, and we are all connected to it. It's as if that primordial light that I was talking about that's where we really belong, that's where we really are. And so many people say, even when they enter into the experience of the light, I was home. One man said, "This is where I always was and always will be, and my life on earth was just a brief instant." So it's like in this brief instant that we call life, of course, which seems to expand and seems to be the totality of it. I mean, that's maybe all that we are aware of, but when we have the near-death experience, we realize this life is just a flicker, and where we really are and where we truly have our being is in that primordial light, and there we are truly all one. We are truly all one anyway, but we have the realization that we are one. We know it, It's not just an intellectual conviction.
Well, this is very graphic testimony to what mystics have been saying throughout the ages.
To me, the near-death experience is a type of mystical experience that's brought about by the proximity of death. Its essence is no different from a mystical experience. The only thing that's different about it are the circumstances that bring it into a person's awareness. And it's almost as if we're having an influx of mystical experience these days because of the availability of resuscitation technology that brings many people back from the brink of death and enables them to relate these stories to people like myself who are chroniclers of them, to people like you who are broadcasters of them, so that people understand that the mystical worldview is one that really can be reached from a number of different perspectives or avenues, I could say, of which the near-death experience is only one. But it teaches the same thing as traditional mystical experiences have taught us.
Well, it's very powerful testimony, and the fact that it's occurring within a scientific framework suggests to me the possibility that what you've been taking part in since you co-founded the International Association for Near-Death Studies a quarter century ago is a cultural movement of great significance.
Well, Chris, it's hard to say where this is going, but I think many people who have taken the trouble to study or to read about or just inform themselves about near-death experiences can see the implications of them are very large, and this is what I try to bring out in my books and in my talks generally. But my attitude toward the near-death experience has always been invitational. I don't think it has any one truth or any one perspective that it inevitably leads to. My approach has always been to invite people to consider the near-death experience and come to their own conclusions. But I know that whatever their conclusions might be, the exploration of these experiences will be richly rewarding.
To me, the one conclusion that is suggested by all of these accounts is that life has a purpose.
Yes.
And that is profound from the point of view of materialistic science, which says just the opposite.
And it's almost universal that near-death experiencers say that. They say, I know that my life has a purpose. I know that life has a meaning. It is a big anecdote to kind of the bleak existentialism that was, so common, say, in the mid-20th century. That point of view simply is not maintainable in the light of the near-death experience. The sense of purpose, the sense of meaning is so much a part of this experience that it cannot be extracted, nor can it be, it can't be doubted. It's an inextricable part of the near-death experience, and people who study it will understand that if those experiences give us a sense of meaning, then even those of us who haven't had the experience can be buoyed up by the fact that there is meaning and purpose to our world. Dr. Kenneth Ring, thank you so much for being with me. My pleasure, Jeffrey. Thank you for having me. And thank you for being with us.